Staying together, it's no easy task with 50% of marriages ending in divorce these days. So what does it take to make it last? We chatted it over right before the show.
Every time I go to a wedding, we got to write the card, and I always write the same thing. That the most important words in a marriage are not, I love you. Anybody could say I love you and have a good time when everybody's happy. It's, I'm sorry. And it's the ability to have conflict resolution.
I think that's 100% right. And being able to not be stubborn in those situations and let go of petty things. And also not to start fights over petty things. Like,
well, that seems inevitable.
I mean, anytime you live with someone or have a close relationship with someone, there are going to be things about that person that bother you on a regular basis. And being able to let those things slide and recognize that they're not that important, I think, is the key.
Part of the problem is like dealing with irrational behavior. People are irrational, and when you put two people together, irrational things are going to happen.
Because sometimes my husband will wake up in the morning and he'll say to me, "You were so mean to me in my dream last night." And he has a hard time he lets it go. Yeah. But he actually has a hard time letting it go because it seems so real. And his feelings are hurt by what I did to him in his dream.
Yeah.
I got nothing. I mean, you know,
letting those little things go, those small daily courtesies, that adds up to a level of trust and stability in a relationship that I think is key.
I think that it's a little bit more of the man, if in a successful relationship, giving in to the wife as much as he can possibly stand.
I totally disagree.
All right, you've heard from us. Let's bring in somebody who might have a little more jurisdiction in this area. In the guest spot today, we've got Lynn Toler. She's the judge and host of Divorce Court, and she brings her unique perspective to her new book, Making Marriage Work: New Rules for an Old Institution. So, Lynn, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, first of all, how did we do? What did you think of our take on marriage?
You didn't do too badly. I think the point that I liked the most was the love is a wonderful thing, but that is only the first thing, and there's a whole lot that has to happen after that. And I really did like the point about the man giving it as much as possible. I'm going to go home and repeat that to my husband.
So what are some of the tips that you focus on in your book?
I focus on thinking past the love part. People fall in love and they think they found their soulmate because that outrageous chemical reaction that is love makes them believe that. But there is work to be done far before you get married that has nothing to do with picking out flowers or colors, and that there's work to be done after you get married that you have to plan on. You don't just let your marriage happen to you. You be consciously married in a particular sort of way.
When you talk about new rules, Lynn, what are some of the new rules that you want us to know about marriage and cohabitating, hopefully forever?
I think the first new rule is you have to know who not to marry, and you have to take time to see what a person is like and who you shouldn't marry and what their problems were. So I put a lot of personality traits in there. You have to be able to look at your spouse, name 10 things, 5 things to 10 things that you don't like about them, and decide whether you can live with them long term. You need to go to their house and look at their family, because that's the shadow strip that they'll read from when things get ugly at your house. You need to go to counseling before you get married. You need to learn how to handle money. The vast majority, not the vast majority, but a significant section of people have problems because they have money problems. They don't understand money. If you don't understand money, you can't live well together.
You're absolutely
There's so
right.
many things you need to do.
If you have 2 different emotional or functional approaches to money, that can be as much of a thing that'll draw you apart as much as anything else.
Oh, absolutely. It almost killed my husband and I. I like to have all my money in the bank. He likes to fund the money. So every dollar he was out having fun with was security that he took from me, and every dollar I squirreled away was fun I took from him. And we couldn't figure out what was wrong until we figured out that our emotional approaches to money were different, and then we would be able to adjust our behavior and keeping both of those things in mind.
Lynn, you've certainly dealt a lot with divorce in your job. I'm wondering, it seems to me, at least over the past 20 years or so, I mean, just back to my mom's generation, that divorce has become somewhat normalized by our culture. There used to be a stigma attached. It used to be something that people were a little ashamed of. Is that a positive in that women are and men are feeling more free to leave bad marriages, or do you think it's become a little too easy where people show up to court and it's almost like they're paying a parking ticket?
I think that the legal ease to leave a marriage should remain. I think the social and emotional decision not to leave needs to change, because there was a book out not too long ago called The Starter Marriage. There is an idea that this is not a long-term, full-time process, that it can be left, and people go into it with the idea that they know that they can leave, and that doesn't allow you to work at it. And we tend to want a lot of immediate gratification. Mm-hmm. There are going to be ugly years in a marriage. You've got to be able to ride through a little bit of ugly so you can get on the other side.
Ugly years that we have to accept.
Well, it could be that way.
You're
it can
right.
happen, and you can get through them.
You know, Lynn, I think the term you used earlier was an outrageous chemical reaction, is how you were describing love. And I take the point you were making there, which is that you know, any successful marriage, it's going to have to move a lot, you know, beyond that. It's going to have to involve a lot of more almost sort of mundane but important things. But a marriage can't exist, can't work without that chemical reaction, can it?
Well, there's the initial chemical reaction goes to the place in your brain where cocaine goes to get you high. That's the initial chemical reaction. Over years, it changes. You change into a more settled and different kind of love. It's not that hot passion one, but it's a strong, deep, burning one, and that lights up different parts of your brain. So you start out with that hot love, you ride it for a while, and then you do the work and the process that allows you to settle in to that more base and consistent kind of love.
Very good. Well, thank you.
Those are power.
You've given me a lot of hope for a lot of people's marriages. I certainly am very happy in mine, but always good to keep these things in mind. Lynn Toler, thanks so much for joining us.